Hi and welcome to the On Maths Edexcel prediction for the Foundation Tier Paper 1 2017. Enjoy! Hi, I'm Chris Gilpin and welcome to this predicted paper. Now, you might be thinking, how could you possibly predict what's going to be on the paper? With extreme difficulty. However, I've tried my best to have a look at what the specimen, mock papers, resources are hinting at might come up. I've also looked at the AO1, AO2, AO3 elements, which have slightly changed. There's more AO2, AO3 elements than there's ever been before. I've looked at the fact that there's a lot more ratio and proportion questions, and the dynamics of the exams have changed significantly. I've also integrated the new grades into the exam. So the first half of the exams, grades 1 to 3.5, and then the second half is grades 3 to 5. I've also had a look at grade boundaries. Those of you who've been following me on Twitter or the YouTube will see that I've created a grade boundary structure and then changed my mind when I've looked at the data. The data is showing that the grade boundaries are going to be significantly lower than I first predicted, which is a relief because they were quite harsh. Looking at the national data from the Edexcel mock, it's clear that the boundaries are going to have to be lower than I feared. However, it's all to do with when you sit the exam and when the envelopes get opened in August. That's the first anyone knows about what the grade boundary is going to be, because they're based on your data. So don't spend hours trying to figure them out. Well, I have. I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but I'm not a student. So don't spend hours try to rack your brains about where the level or where the grade 4 and grade 5 boundaries are going to be. It is what it is. You just need to look back when you open your envelope in August and go, I could not have put any more in. And then you're sitting happy because you know that you didn't stop revising thinking that you've got to a grade that you wanted to get. So the predictions are as usual. I will go through a paper from start to finish, but if you go to the onmaths.com, the wonder of the internet website is that it will change all the questions, all the numbers in the questions, so that you can practice the skills yourself without just copying down the answers that I've come up with in this video. The link to the online paper is in the description. There's also minute marks on the site, which are multiple choice questions that have videos straight away of showing you how to do them once you've had a go at them. If you log in and sign in through Facebook or subscribe to the site for free, then it will save all your scores. I'm looking at doing an awful lot of stuff onto the site. There's topic busters at the moment for almost all the topics, but probably by the time you watch this video it will be all the topics. I think I've just got data left to do and then it's all done, which will be fantastic. Every single question on our site. There's a lot more stuff than that. We're doing topic buster videos as well, which trim down all these topics and put them into bite-sized pieces. I will not have enough time to go through what we've got on the site, so just click subscribe, which is probably down there somewhere, and I'll keep you up to date on the YouTube video about what's going on the site. Anyway, with no further ado, let's get started. Pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So the first thing to do these questions is to put in some columns. Now the first one for this, it looks like we need a tens column, then a units, decimal point, then the tenths column, then the hundredths column, then the thousandths column. Okay, so I'm just going to put the numbers in. So 11.6, 12.14, 12.20, 5.95, and then 12.1 0.146. I'm going to fill in all of the missing spaces on the right hand side with zeros. Don't need to do a different colour. Okay, now the first place to look with these questions is the left hand side. So on this question it's our tens column, and we're looking for the smallest number. Well, there's 4 ones there, but there's one technically 0 there. So the smallest number is going to be that 5.95. So we can cross that out because we've dealt with that. All the other ones are the same, so we look at the next column. We can see that there's a 1 in there, so it's going to be 11.6, which is the next smallest, so we can cross that out. All the rest of them are 2s, so we go on to the next column. Now there's 2 1s in this column, so we'll keep going, and look, they're both 4s in the next column, so we keep going, and there's a 0 and there's a 6. So it's going to be 12.14 and then 12.146. So 12.14, then 12.146, and then obviously the largest is going to be the one left, which is the 12.20. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So 70% as a fraction in its simplest form. So percent just means put it over 100. A percentage is always a fraction over 100. Now the first thing I can do is I can divide both top and bottom by 10. That's quite easy on this because I'm just going to remove a 0. So it's just going to be 7 over 10. Then looking at that, there's nothing more I can do because 7's a prime number and 7 doesn't go into 10. So my answer is going to be 7 over 10. Now the next one, they have a decimal, fraction and percentage. Now the easiest, I would say, to convert these all into, to be able to compare them, is probably a decimal. You might pick a fraction, you might pick a percentage, but generally I find these easier if they're decimals. So question A, well, we don't need to do anything with that. Question B, now you might not know what 3/5 is as a decimal, but if we times top and bottom by 2, then we get 6/10. Now if you remember that column after the units is the 10th column, so that's going to be 0.6 because it's 6/10. Last one, to do a percentage to a decimal, it's nice and easy because you just divide it by 100. So if it's 23, it's just going to be 0.23. Now be careful with this because sometimes when people convert 7% into a decimal, they write 0.7. The 7% would be 0.07. Okay, now we just do our little columns to make absolutely sure that we get this right. So what we got? So we've got 0.38. We've got 0.6 and we've got 0.23. So if you look in this column here, because all of them start off with 0, so there's no point looking in that column, we can see that 0.23 is the smallest. So it's going to be 23% is the smallest, and you've got to be careful here because you can't write 0.23 because we've done that. The actual question says 23%, so we've got to make sure we write down what the question says. The reason I'm starting off with the smallest is because it asks for ascending order, which just means from smallest to biggest. The next biggest one, or next smallest one, is the 0.38, which was a decimal to start off with, and the biggest one there is that 3/5, the 3/5. Okay, if you'd like to have a go, pause now, otherwise let's get started. So, I'm going to write the number down first, 7860. Okay, now with significant figures, these are different to decimal places, because you don't start counting the decimal point, you start counting at the start of the number, which is here. So two significant figures, we do 1 and then 2 jumps. So we want to make sure that we put the line down after the 8, which is there. Now this number here is called our decider number. That's doomed, it's going to turn to 0, but before it goes away, if it's 5 or bigger, then it means that the 8 there this 8 here, goes to a 9. So we're going to have 7. That 6 is going to push that 8 to a 9, but all the other numbers are 0. So our answer is 7,900. Now a good way to check your answer, because a common mistake for this is to write 79, is if you imagine 7,860 people came to your party, and someone said, oh, roughly how many people came, 7,900 is a good estimate. It's roughly about the amount of people who were gone. But if you said 79, that would be a bit odd. Okay, and the point of significant figures is to round things, so we're roughly right. Okay, the next one. Now this is another rule of significant figures. I'm just going to write the number down. You don't start counting until you get to a number that's not a 0. So we're going to start counting here. We're going to do 1, 2. So we're going to put a line down there. Now notice I did count the second 0, or the third 0 I should say. It's until you hit a number, then you start counting whether it's a 0 or not. So we're going to copy down the 0.0. Now that decider number there is going to push, this decider number here is going to push that 0 up to a 1, because 7 is 5 or more. So it's going to be 7, 1. Now, unlike the last one, we don't need to put the zeros in there because they're not placeholders. The 0.071 is the same as 0.07100. So we can just write down the answer, 0.071. Okay, if you'd like to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So it says write down the coordinate of point A. So we've got to figure out where point A is. It's here. Okay. Now, when you're finding out coordinates, it's dead simple. You've got to find out the x-coordinate first. Now, the x-coordinate is this one here. So the x-coordinate is 4. Now, the y-coordinate is this one here. If I get it just right, there we go. Now, the y-coordinate is -4. Now, most people say the expression along the corridor and up the stairs. Well, in this time it's along the corridor and down the stairs because it's -4. So we're going along the corridor 4 and up the stairs -4 because we're technically going down the stairs. Okay, now it says find the coordinates of the midpoint of line AB. So let's have a look at line AB. So we're going here to here. And it's useful to draw line AB. Now line AB just means the line from A to B. Now if you have a look, we have to go down 2. We go across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we go down 2 and left 6, don't we? Because we're going from A to B. So that means the midpoint will be down 1 and across 3. And you can see it here. Okay, now you could just do this by drawing it and using a ruler and measuring halfway, or you could just use a bit of logic that if you've got to go down 2 to get to B, well, the midpoint will be going down 1. And if you've got to go left 6 to get to B, the midpoint will just be across 3. So let's read off the coordinates. The x-coordinate is 1 and the y-coordinate is -5. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So when you're writing combinations, the easiest way to do it is start off with this one here. So I'm going to start off with apple and write all the combinations that involve an apple. So the apple could be with banana, or the apple could be with the coconut. Now that's the apple finished. All the possible combinations with apple are finished. So then go on to the next one, which is banana. The banana could be with the coconut. Now that's all the banana combinations done. And actually we've already done the coconut combinations. Now you'll normally be asked maybe 4 or 5 different things, so normally the question's a bit longer than that, but if you start off with the top one, write all the combinations with that one and just keep moving down, then you make sure you don't miss any. Also in this question, there's no coincidence that they're all different letters. In fact, they happen to be A, B, C. And most mark schemes, in fact, all the ones I've seen, have allowed you to do it as A and B, A and C, B and C. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So I'm just going to go through the question first to figure out what it's asking me. So it says we've got £10 to spend, or Jamie has £10 to spend. He wants to buy one pear and as many bananas as he can afford. Okay, so the first thing I notice is there's no apples in the question, so we can get rid of that piece of information. And I want to first of all work out how much he's got to spend on the bananas. So we're going to do the £10, which we're going to do as 1,000 pence, and we're going to take away the 22 pence for the pear. Okay, so I need to nick one off that, nick one off that, then nick one off that. So we're first of all going to do 10 take away 2, which is 8, then 9 take away 2, which is 7, and then 9 take away nothing, which is 9. So he's got 978 pence to spend on bananas, and I'll probably write that down, to spend on bananas. And the reason why you write down parts of your working out is to show the examiner what you're doing, and then they can give you marks even if you don't get the full answer. Okay, next we need to work out what a banana costs. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a table of values, and I'm just going to put a line going down. Okay, so if we have one banana, well, that's easy. The price of that is going to be 30p. Now we're not even close to £9.78, so we know we're going to have to buy a lot more. So what I'm going to do is just find out what the price of 10 bananas is. Well, that's going to be 10 times as many, 10 times as much. So that's going to be 300 pence. Well, we're not even close to 978, so we've got loads of way to go. So I'm going to work out 20. Now 20 is going to be double 10, so that's going to be 600 pence. Not really that close still. So I'm going to pick 30, which is 3 times as big as the 10, which is going to be 900. So 900 pence is quite close. I wouldn't go for 40 because that's going to be over the amount of money we've got left. So I'm going to go for 31, which is going to be 30p more than 900. Okay, still got a bit to spend. So we're going to pick 32, which is going to be 960. Now I'm going to try 33, and that's going to be 990. Well, that's too much because we've only got 978 to spend. So he can get 32 bananas. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So this question is asking about ratios. Now the first most important thing that we realise is the order of the words reflects the order of the ratios. So it's red to blue, and so there's going to be 2 red for every 5 blue. So if we're looking for the fraction of counters in the bag that are blue, it's the parts that are blue, which is 5, over the total number of parts. Well, there's 2 parts red, 5 parts blue. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So it's 5 over 7. Now this next question says that 8/15 of the counters are black. So we're looking at green to black. So I'm going to do the right hand side of the ratio, which is going to be 8 over 15. Now that means on the left hand side of the ratio, well, there's only green and black counters, so the fraction of green has to be 7 over 15, so that the tops add up to 15. Now you can't leave a ratio as fractions, so we can just write down the numerators, 7 to 8. Now looking at the last question, we can work backwards and we can work out what the fraction of black counters are with this ratio. So there's 8 parts that are black and 15 parts altogether, so it's 8 over 15. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So we've got a machine here that we input a number, it divides by 2, then adds 6, and then we get an output. It says work out the output when the input is 24. So we've got 24 here. The machine is going to divide it by 2, so that's going to be 12. And then we're going to add 6, which is going to be 18. The answer is going to be 18. Now there's a different number machine here, but we've got a missing function. So we know we're going to take away 6, but we don't know what then. So it says when the output is 20, or input is 20, the output is 56. So it says complete the number machine. So what's the function? Okay, so 20 take away 6 is going to be 14. Now I've got to think to myself, well, there's multiple ways of doing this, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we can either add 42, and that's an absolutely fine answer, or we can times 14 by 4. Now on the website we don't have the choice of adding 42, so I'm going to put the answer that's on the website, which is times 4. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So stem leaf diagram, well, the hardest bit is figuring out what the heck a stem leaf diagram is. This question gives you a big hint because it draws it out for you. You can see that the stems 5, 6, 7, 8, that represents 50, 60, 70, 80. And on the leaf bit, we're only going to put in the units. Now the easiest way of doing this question is just do them in order of size. So 51 is our smallest. Now we're not going to write 51 in here because there's a 50 on the left hand side, we're just going to write a 1. Looking around, I think 53 is our next smallest, so we're going to put the 3 in. And make sure you cross them out on your exam paper so you don't lose track. 54 is our next biggest, or next smallest. And then 58, and then I think 62, and then another 62, and then we've got a 70, a 73, and a 79, then an 84. Now be careful with this, because what some people do is they accidentally don't put them in order of size, and you will only get 1 out of 2 marks if 2 marks are available for that part of the question. So make sure you put them in order of size. If you have trouble with it, draw a rough one which they're not in order of size, and then fill it in on the main one with them all beautifully in order of size, going from left to right. If there is a 2-sided one, then make sure the smallest are on the right hand side and the biggest are on the left hand side. Okay, but this is only a single stem leaf diagram question. The last mark, the third mark in this question, is for the key, and you just pick a value, and it doesn't even have to be a value on there, so I always just pick the first one. 5 line 1 means 51, and the reason for this is it could have meant 5.1, but if you look at the questions there are no decimals, so it means 51. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So the first thing to do with this question is work out the area of the wall. So I'm just going to show the examiner that I'm doing the area, and I'm going to do the width times the height. So it's 88 meters squared. So we need to get enough paint to cover 88 meters squared. Now it says each tin covers 4 meters squared. So we need to work out how many tins we need. Tins needed. Okay, so I need to do 88, which is the amount I need to cover, divided by 4, because I know each tin will cover 4 of them, 4 meters squared of wall, and I've got 88 meters squared to cover. So what I can do is I can work out how many 4s there are in 88. Now you can do this with the bus stop method. So if I just quickly do that now, so 4 on the outside and 88 on the inside. 4s into 8 go twice, 4s into 8 go twice. So the answer is going to be 22. So I need 22 tins. Now here's the difficult bit. The cost is £5.70 and I need 22 of them. So if I work out using a quick little diagram, if I've got one tin, that will cost £5.70, and so I need to get 22. So if I get 10 tins, that will be 10 times as much, so that will be £57. If I get 20 tins, that's going to be twice as big as 57, so it's going to be £114. And if you need to do 57 times 2, that's the way of doing it. 7 times 2, 14, 7 times 5 is 10, plus the 11. So we've got 20 tins so far, and we need to get 22, so I can get 21 by adding £5.70. So that's going to be £119.70, and let's keep it in money. And so 22 will be another £5.70. So it's going to be £119.70 plus £5.70. So that's going to be 14. That's going to be 15. That's going to be 100. So that's £125. 40 pence. Now a different way you could do this is convert that 5.7 to 57, and then you could have done 57 times 22, and a lot of you will be using this method. So you do 50 and 7, 20 and 2, so that's going to be 1,000. 2 times 7 is 14 with the 0, 5 times 2 is 10 with the 0, 2 times 14 is 14, 2 times 7 is 14, so that's going to be 1,254. And then of course we need to divide that by 10 because we made that 57 there, we made the 5.7 57. So we've got to divide that by 10, which would be 125.4, which we know in money is £125.40. I suggest if you've got any problems doing 5.7 or £5.70 times 22, a different way you could do it is just do it in pence. Make it 570 pence times 22, and then just convert your answer back into pounds in your answer. I definitely recommend you practice multiplying big numbers and decimals together if you had problems with this. Thank you. Pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So the first thing to realise is what transformation this is. So I go through the transformations and there's 4. Now, first question I ask myself is, has it changed or has it just moved? If it's just moved, then it's a translation. But if you have a look at A and B, they're not the same shape. They're kind of the same shape, but something's happened to them. So it's not a translation. Has it got bigger or smaller? Well, no, it's the same size. Something's weird's happened to it, but it's the same size, so it's not an enlargement. Has it been rotated? Now, this is a bit of a funny one. You could almost say that this has been rotated, but if you think about it, A, when it rotates, will look like that, and not like B, so it hasn't rotated. The fourth one, which this is a reflection. Now, if you have a look at it, between A and B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So we know the mirror line will be 4 squares along. If I draw the mirror line in, let's get that there. Draw it in there. So that's our mirror line. Now, a lot of students mix up the mirror line to being one to the right. They believe that all the mirror lines are on the axes, but they're not necessarily. Sometimes they are, but not necessarily. So how do we write all this down? Well, the first word to use is reflection. And that's important. And we need to say where it's being reflected. And the way of describing where it's being reflected is by describing what the line that I've just drawn in is called. Well, on that line, x is always -1. If you pick any coordinate along that line, x is going to be -1. Y will change, but x will stay as -1. So we call that line x equals -1. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So first one, we are looking at how many b's we have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots of b. So we've got 5 lots of b, and in algebra we don't put the times sign, so it's just 5b. Now be careful, a lot of students put b to the power of 5. That's true when there's a time sign in there, but when you're adding, it's just 5 lots of b. Next one, 13f, and we're taking away 3 lots of the f. That means that we've got 10 lots of that f left. Next one's quite simple because you just don't put the time signs in, so it's 5ab. Now the last one, well, we've got x's, which are here and here, and we've got y's, which are here and here. So if we do the x's first, we've got 4x plus 4x, so that gives us 8x. Now the y's, we've got a positive 4y, and we're taking away a y. So if we've got 4 of something, and we're taking away 1 lot of it, that leaves us with 3y. So the answer is 8x plus 3y. Okay, pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So the most important word in this question is estimate, okay, because that means we don't want an exact answer. And as soon as they use the word estimate or estimation or estimate, you need to make sure you round the numbers in the question. So I'm going to go through each of the numbers one by one, and I'm going to start off with 99 tables. Well, 99 tables will obviously round to 100. 31 balloons, well, that's going to round to 30. Now the last one, we've got 0.38. Now you might think, well, hang on, is that going to go to 50p or is that going to go down to 0? There is a rule. The rule is you round everything to one significant figure unless it's a square root or a division that it's easier to do in a different way. So one significant figure, that's going to be 0.40 or 40p. Now we're going to understand the question. The question says there's 100 tables and 1 balloon per table, but he already has 31 balloons. So the first thing we need to do is work out how many balloons is needed. So balloons needed, and that's 100. Remember, we're not doing 99. Take away 30, which means we'll need 70 balloons. Now each balloon costs 0.40 or 40p. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat that 0.4 pounds, and I'm going to make that 40p. So the calculations are easier. So we need 70 balloons, they cost us 40p. So we're going to do 70 times the 40p. Now 7 times 4 is 28. And then we've got a 0 for the 70 and a 0 for the 40. So that's in pence, so it's going to be £28. Now it says, with a reason, state whether your answer is an underestimate or an overestimate. And there's a few extra bits here that won't be in the question, so anything below this line won't actually be given to you on the exam. So it says 99 was rounded, well, that was rounded up. 31 was rounded down, and 0.38 was rounded up. So if you think about it, 99, we rounded that up, so we are needing more balloons. We're rounding the amount we had left over from last year down, so we're needing yet even more balloons, and we're putting the price up, so it's costing us even extra. So it's definitely an overestimate. And in the exam, you would just say that you rounded 99 up, you rounded 31 down, and you rounded 38 pence up. Therefore, it will be a lot more money that you've calculated than you'll actually need. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So when you're simplifying ratios, it's important you realise that it's kind of the same as fractions, where you've got to do the same to the top and bottom, but this time it's left and right. So we've got to figure out what we can do left and right here. Well, obvious thing is divide them by 10. Anything with a 0 on the end of it is going to be in the 10 times table. So that's going to be 15 ... 25. Now any number that ends in a 0 or 5 is in the 5 times table, so I can divide these both by 5 as well. So that's going to be 3 and 5. Now 3 and 5 both prime numbers, and so it's just going to be 3 to 5. There's nothing more we can do. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So important thing to realise here is that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the x minus 1, and we're going to equal it to the 10. Then I'm going to put lines down the equal sign. Now I want to get x on its own, so what I need to do is I need to add 1 both sides because of that minus 1. So that will leave an x on the left hand side, and 10 plus 1 is 11. So x is 11. Let's check that. X plus 1, 11 plus 1 is 12. So we're pretty confident we've got the right answer there of 11. Now if you want to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So this is part B. Now what we realise is that all 3 angles in any triangle add up to 180. So we know if we add up the 2y, the 3y, and the y, that will equal 180 degrees. So again, I'm going to put the lines down the side. First thing to do is just simplify the left hand side. So 2y plus 3y plus y, well that's going to be 6y equals 180. And then to get y, I need to divide both sides by 6. So we get y equals, well I know 18 divided by 6 is 3, so I know 180 divided by 6 is going to be 30. Now I could do that using the bus stop method. So 6 into 1 don't go, that carries, 6 into 18 is 3, 6 into 0 is 0, so you still get 30. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So, looking at the question, there are 6 students who only like the red car. So that's 6 students go in there, and that's our answer to A. And next it says there are 11 students who only like the blue car. So those 11 students are going to go in there. And lastly, 9 people liked both. So those 9 people would go in there. So B is 9 and C is 11. And you'll normally be asked to put this directly in the Venn diagram itself, but obviously on this one we just put them into the bottom right. Okay, next question says how many students did not like the red or blue car. So if you have a look at the question, it says there's 36 students altogether. So we need to add up how many students we've accounted for so far. So 9 plus 11 is 20, 20 plus 6 is 26, and so that leaves us with 10 people left. And you'd normally put those on the outside here. Okay, now if I scroll down, we'll have a look at the next question. It says a student is chosen at random from the group to discuss their views. What's the probability that student liked the red car? If you'd like to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So we've got to figure out how many people picked, or how many students picked the red car. Now that's going to be everyone in this part of the Venn diagram. And then we've got to work out how many students there are altogether. Well, it tells us in the question there's 36. So it's going to be 6 plus 9, which is 15. And that's the amount of people who picked the red car. And so it's going to be 15 over the total amount, which was 36. So in our answer box, 15 over 36. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. Now with these questions, I always like to put a big line down the page to show the examiner what I'm doing. I'm going to do shop A over here, and I'm going to do shop B over here. Okay, so shop A says there's rulers and price. So there are 3 rulers for £1.50. So to get to 30 rulers, I times it by 10, so that's going to be £15. So 30 rulers are £15. Okay, let's do shop B. Rulers and price. So 5 rulers is £2. Now to get from 2 to 30, I need to times by 6. So I'm going to times the 2 by 6. That gives me £12. So it says, what is the cheapest price for 30 rulers? The cheapest price is £12 at shop B. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So when you're sharing out money in a ratio, so you're given the total amount of money and the ratio you want to split it into, there are 3 steps. Step 1 is find out how many parts there are all together. So to do that, you just add the 5 and the 4 together. So you add the amount of parts in the ratio. So there are 9 parts altogether. Step 2 is you find out how much one part is worth. So 1 part is worth. And to do that, get the amount in the question, which is 18, and divide that by the amount of parts we have, divided by 9, which is 2. So each part is worth £2. And then step 3 is find out how much each person gets. So James, he has 5 parts, each worth £2. So it's 5 times the £2 equals £10. Anna, she has only 4 parts. So 4 times the £2 gives us £8. So James has £10 and Anna has £8. The last part is just to check your answer. Check that the 10 and the 2 add up to the 18, which they do. Okay, if you want to have a go, pause now, otherwise let's get started. So all you need to do is know the 3 rules or 4 rules of parallel lines. You need to know corresponding, alternate, interior or co-interior or allied or whatever you want to call them. And then normally you get vertically opposite angles within this topic as well. So which one is this? Well, what letter does it make? Well, it makes a Z, the armpits of the Z. And any angles, 2 angles on a parallel line that make the letter Z are called alternate angles. And alternate and corresponding are always equal. So question A is just 124, and the answer to question B is that they are alternate angles. If they were interior, which would be this one here, then they would add up to 180, so 124, and this blue angle here would add up to 180. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So the first thing to do with these questions is make them top heavy. The way we do that is if you look at 4 1/3, we times the 4 by the bottom and add it to the top. So we're going to times 4 by 3 to get 12 and add it to the top. So that gives us 13, and the bottom stays the same over 3. and then we go times the 2 by the 4 and add it to the top. So 4 times 2 is going to be 8, added to the top is going to be 9 over 4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to times both sides here by the bottom of the other fraction, and we're going to times both sides here by the bottom of the other fraction. So 13 times 4, well I know 10 times 4 is 40, 3 times 4 is 12, so it's going to be 52 over, and 3 times 4 is 12. Then I'm going to times 9 by 3, so that will be 27, and 3 times 4, which is 12. And then all you need to do is take away the tops. So 52 take away 27, which is 25, and the bottom stays the same, 12. The last thing we've got to do is work out how many 12s there are in 25. Well, I know 2 times 12 is 24, so that's going to be 2 whole ones. And how many remainders? Well, if 2 times 12 is 24, that's going to be 1 remainder. So the answer is going to be 2 and 1/12. So we're going to do the same on the next one. So we're going to do the 4 times the 3, add to the top, 3 times the 4, add to the top. So that's going to be 13 over 3. And this next one's going to be 13 over 4. Now the rule with division is same change flip. We keep the first fraction the same, we change the divide sign, and we flip the second one. And some of the teachers call this KFC, keep, flip, change. So we're going to keep that 13 over 3 the same. We'll change that divide sign to a times, and we'll go flip that second fraction, so 13 over 4 becomes 4 over 13. Then I times the tops, so 4 times 10 is 40, 3 times 4 is 12, so it's going to be 52, and times the bottoms, so that's going to be 39. So I've got to work out how many 39s go into 52. Well, I know 2 times 39 is going to be way more than 52, so it's going to be 1 whole 1. And then I've got to work out what 52 take away 39 is going to be, and that's going to be 13 over 39. Now 13 over 39, if I divide top and bottom by by 13, I get 1 over 3. So that's 1 1/3. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. Now, the main equation to realise for this is y equals mx plus c. Now, m and c are both values you're trying to find out. M is the gradient and c is the y-intercept. So let's have a look at what c is first, because it's normally the easiest. C is just the point that the line hits the y-axis. So C is just 5. To find M is a little bit harder. M is called the gradient, and it's how steep the line is. So if I pick where it hits the y-axis, although you can pick any point, and I go across from there, 1 square, and I go up, the gradient is for every 1 we go across, how far do we have to go up? 2. So the gradient is 2. So we've got y equals 2x plus 5. And that's our answer. Now if you've got a line going downwards, the gradient, which is this one here, will be a negative. And sometimes it goes up 1, so you might get y equals 1x. Well, you would write y equals x. If it goes down 1 for every 1 it goes across, then it will be minus x. Okay, if you want to have a go, pause the video now. Otherwise, let's get started. Now, obviously I've got limitations here of not being able to use a compass, but I can show you what you should be doing. Put the compass point on where that red dot is, and just draw an arc there. Should look something like that. Then put the compass point on where your arc and the line BA cross or intersect, and draw an arc across here. And then do the same using the same width of compass on line BC. And then all you have to do to get the marks is join B up with where those lines intersect. Don't rub any of that out, all of those arcs give you marks. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So we're going to do a factor tree. I'm going to start with 88. I'm going to split it up into two numbers that times together to make 88. So I always pick 2 if it's an even number, and half of 88 is 44, so 2 times 44 is 88. Now I always put a circle around any prime numbers because I can't split that up anymore without using 1. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2, you can go on forever. And I'm going to split this up. Again, it's even, so I can use 2, that's a prime number, 2 times 22. Split that up again, and I can use 2 again. And 11 is also a prime number. So my answer would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 11, and I always put them in order of size. But 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 cubed times 11. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So question A asks us to work out Tamsin's speed as she was travelling to the shop. So the point at which she's at the shop is here. So the distance she's travelled is 30, so she's travelled 30 kilometres. And the time it's taken her is 3/4 of an hour. And because it wants the unit in kilometres per hour, it's useful we always do the time in hours. Now the triangle for working this out has speed and time at the bottom and distance at the top, which means if we're looking for speed, which is this one here, then we're doing distance divided by time. So we're doing 30 divided by 3/4 of an hour. Now with this, when we're dividing fractions, we do same change flip, so keep the 30 the same, times 4/3. 30 times 4 is 120, and 120 divided by 3 is 40. Now a different way you could have worked this out is just have a look. It's going up 10 for every 15 minutes. So if we had another 1/4 of an hour to make a full hour, then it would go up to 40. So it's 40 kilometers per hour. The next question asks us to work out how long Tamsin spent at the shop. So the shop bit is this next bit here. And if you have a look, it's going to be 15 minutes. So the answer to that is just going to be 15 minutes. Okay. So the next part of the question says, Tamsin travels home from the shop at 60 kilometers per hour. Complete the travel graph. If you'd like to pause the video now and have a go. Otherwise, let's get started. So she's looking at doing it for, she's travelling at 60 kilometers per hour. So she's currently 30 kilometers away. So if she's travelling at 60 kilometers per hour, then it means she'll get there in half an hour. So I'm going to start where she's currently at, and she's going to get home within half an hour. Okay, if you want to pause the video now and have a go, otherwise let's get started. So we've got two bags here. We've got a bag 1 and we've got bag 2. So bag 2 is over here and bag 1 is here. Now with tree diagrams, we always start here and we think, right, what's the probability that I'll go down the blue path? Well, there are 3 blue counters and there are 8 altogether because there are 3 blues and 5 reds. What's the probability I go down the red path? Well, there's 5 red counters, and again there's 8 altogether. Now, imagine I go down the blue path. What's the chance of me going down the second blue path? Well, there's 5 blues in this second bag, and there's 8 altogether. And there's a chance of me going down the red path. Well, there's 3 reds and 8 altogether. Now, imagine I go down the red path first of all with bag 1. Well, there's the same probabilities. 5 over 8 for blue, and 3 over 8 for red. And that's our probability tree complete. Next question says, work out the probability that 2 counters picked are different colours. So we've got to think carefully here. What options are there that go to different colours? Well, let's follow the paths. So I go down the blue path and then the blue path. So I end up with a blue and a blue. Well, we don't want that. Those aren't different colours. So let's try again. Go down the blue path. This time I go down the red path. So it's blue and then red. Well, they're different colours, so that's good. We'll keep that. Next I go down the red path first of all, and then the blue path. So red and then blue. Well, they're different colours, so we like that. And the last one I go down the red path and then the red path. Well, they're the same, we don't want those. So there's 2 outcomes that give us the 2 different colours which we're looking for. Next I write down the probabilities that we pass to get to blue-red. Well, that's 3 over 8. And, which is a times in probability, 3 over 8. Times them together to get the total probability, so that's 9 over 64. And let's do the same with the red and blue. So that was 5 over 8, which is the red, and 5 over 8, which is the second blue, times the tops, 25 over 64. So we're looking at this probability or this probability, and the word or in probability means add. So to finish this question off, you do 9 over 64 plus 25 over 64. So 25 plus 10 is 35, so that would be 34 over 64. And I can simplify that. So I can halve top and bottom. Half of 30 is 15, so that's going to be 17 over 32. And that's my answer. Okay, if you'd like to pause the video, otherwise let's get started. So we have a new planet that is that weight, and we've got the mass of the Earth. So we've got 2 masses, and we're asked how many times heavier is the new planet than Earth. So if the new planet was 10 and Earth was 2, then to work out how many more times heavier it is, we just divide it. It would be 5 times heavier. This time we don't have simple numbers, we've got standard form. So the new planet is this. And Earth is this. So we just divide them. Now the way of dividing these is we pair up the numbers together. And we pair up the 10 to the powers together. Okay, so 3.02 divided by 6.04. Well, if you write that as a fraction, you'll see that the top number, the 3.02, is half as big as 6.04. So the answer to that is just 0.5. Then with powers, if you divide, you take them away. So 24 take away 21 is 3. Now the problem is this isn't standard form. If I write this out, so we'll do 0.5, and it's to the power of 3, so it will be 1, 2, 3. Let's fill those in with zeros. So that's equivalent to 500. And the decimal point's there, so when we move the decimal point back to make it into standard form, we jump once and twice. So it's 5 times 10 to the power of 2. 5 times 10 to the power of 2. Now the reason it wasn't standard form before was this number has to be between 1 and 10, not including 10. Well, I hope you found that useful, and don't forget that you can do this paper online, and if you go onto the website onmaths.com, if you have a look at the links in the description, please also click subscribe. There's going to be loads more videos coming out. When we have had a look at the paper ones, then we're going to be looking at redoing our preliminary predictions for paper 2s and 3s, and then when we look at paper 2 we're going to do another paper 3 prediction. So these are constantly evolving based on all the information we've got. At the moment we haven't seen any exams at all, we've just seen specimens, mock papers, resources, everything else, but nothing that says Edexcel official exam 2017 yet. So we're all very, very excited to the day, as I'm sure you are, that the actual exams are coming out. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please check out the website for all the other stuff that we've got, and enjoy. Thank you very much.